Hey up everyone, hope you're all doing well. Dricus Du Plessis in an interview has revealed if Khamzat Chimaev pulls out of his fight, well then he's not going to fight a backup fighter, Nassourdine Imavov. And just before I show you this interview, guys, if you want to keep up to date with UFC news, make sure to drop a sub, as I'm always keeping you guys up to date with what's happening in the UFC. But anyways, let's get straight into it. So here we have it, guys, with an interview with RMC Sport Combat. He said this.
You know, the track record is not good. 6 pullouts, 8 fights. So has 8 wins, you see 6 pullouts. There is a 50% chance almost, like what's that, 60% of fights versus he has a 40% chance of pulling out. But that's not how I work. I train for the fight. I have to be honest, if he pulls out of this fight early, I will not fight Imavov because I want to fight Khamzat. I don't want anything else. If I'm already there, you know, 2 weeks, I'll fight Imavov if he pulls out. But if he pulls out on 4 weeks, I'm not going to fight. I'll wait for him to be ready because I want to beat him because he's the best right now. I want to fight only the best of the best. And Imavov deserves this.
He's the number 1 contender.
He's number 1 contender, but you know, he beat a guy that I just beat. So,
what do you think of him?
I think he's a great fighter. I'm a fan.
So there we have it. Dricus Du Plessis will not fight Imavov if Khamzat pulls out. Now, a lot of context is needed here. That's why I played the entire thing, because I've seen some, like, Dricus Du Plessis says he won't fight Nassourdine Imavov if Khamzat Chimaev pulls out of their fight early. And it has no mention of, like, a key part there where he says, I won't fight Imavov if it's, like, 4 weeks out, which is still, like, a month away, you know? But 2 weeks, I'll fight Imavov. Cheeky bastards left that key part out. So he's not flat out saying he won't fight Imavov. Yes, he is saying it, but he's not flat out rejecting a fight against Imavov. He's simply saying if it's like still quite relatively far out, you know, then he won't fight Imavov. And even then, to be honest, I still criticize that. I'm a big fan of Dricus, love him. But I do think if you're the champion, you've got to kind of set the example for the rest of the division. You know, I can kind of understand the reasoning, but I do disagree with it myself. Yes, I understand you want to fight the best, but if the best is not available, you kind of have to make do with what it is. Kind of like how Volkanovski's apparently getting matched up with Yair Rodriguez. You know what I mean? Movsar's right there. He's the best option. So imagine if Volkanovski says, nah, I'm just going to wait for the best. You know what I mean? And not stay active. Like, I can kind of get it. He wants to fight the best. But if, again, he's pulled out the percentages and the fucking, you know, all the mathematics of the chances of Khamzat pulling out of the fight. But regardless, I just think as the champion, you know, you kind of have to. And, like, what are we going to be stuck with? What we're going to be stuck with is the main event. Like, this isn't promising for to hear if you're Dana White or the UFC. Because who the fuck are you going to make the main event if Khamzat pulls out and Dricus says, you know what, I'm not doing this. But to be fair now, maybe if Khamzat does have to pull out, he just waits like, I don't know, fucking 2 weeks beforehand. Actually, I don't know. I don't even know. But this isn't the best thing to hear from the champion heading into a pay-per-view that's going to be headlined by him, you know what I mean? Again, like, we all want to see this fight. In a sense, I would want it so that we still get, like, because imagine if Imavov beat DDP. I'm not saying he would. I would predict that DDP would win that. But imagine if Imavov ended up winning that fight and we got robbed of DDP and Khamzat. That would be a massive kick in the bollocks, don't get me wrong. But ultimately, you need to set the example as the champion. Fight any place, anytime, anyone, anywhere, whatever. You know the fucking saying. You got to set the example of that. And I know he's also trying to say, oh well, Imavov just beat the guy who I beat, which is a good point. He did, but arguably Imavov did it with a lot more ease. Just saying. And it was a lot more cooler how he finished it by knocking him out. Just saying. I love you, Dricus. But hey, I'm just trying to instigate shit. Not gonna say. No, I'm not going to. And he has beat Cannonier, even if it was a controversial stoppage. He has beat Cannonier and Brendan Allen. So he has beat a couple people you haven't beat. Who are quite decent as well. You know, so again, I understand what he means. But at the same time, as a fan, it's not the best thing to hear. As the company, It's not the best thing to hear. And hearing it from a champion, not the most encouraging thing to hear. And you wouldn't really expect this from someone like Dricus. You would expect Dricus to be like the typical generic, generic. He's kind of a responsibility. Fight anyone, any place, anytime. You know, Dana White all those years ago slated John Jones for not taking that short notice fight with Chael Sonnen, and I think we cancelled the entire pay-per-view if I remember correctly. This was ages ago. But yeah, so I could imagine only how much you would end up hating Dricus for this. Like, it would just be an absolute fucking headache for the UFC, and there'll be massive speculation what fight will take place for the main event. Because let's be honest, Dricus versus Khamzat, fucking massive fight. A lot of hype in that fight. Very interesting stylistic matchup. So trying to find a new fight for that without Imavov, it could be a massive headache, but he is just hoping that Khamzat doesn't pull out the fight. We can avoid all of this if Khamzat just doesn't get a fucking cold. If Khamzat doesn't get a cold, we should be safe and sound, but again, he has pulled out many a times in the past. But what do you guys make of this? I wonder what we're going to hear from Imavov, because I'd imagine he won't take this too kindly. But what do you guys make of this? Do you think it's a bit of a shitty move from Dricus? Are you not a fan of it? Let me know in the comments. Maybe if you want to try and elaborate a bit more on his points. I know you're kind of speaking for him at that stage, but, you know, try to make more reasoning for his points. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.